There is a topic that I have avoided here on this channel, and the reason is that it's so cruel and violent that I'm seriously worried that when I start talking about it, the video will be demonetized. But you guys have been asking, so here we go. The blood eagle. It was a form of execution during the Viking Age, or was it? That's what we're going to try to answer here in this video. Was the blood eagle really a thing? Did it ever happen, or was it just a myth made up to make the Vikings look bad? I'm going to have to ask the sensitive souls out there to cover their ears now, because I'm going to tell you what was done during the blood eagle. Okay, here we go. The victim was tied down with the back up, and they would then separate the ribs from the spine and pull the lungs out that way through the back. Yeah, so as you can imagine, that was it was brutal. Not a good way to go. So in the written sources there are 3 accounts of the blood eagle, and the first one that I will mention is the one in the TV series where Ivar the Boneless kills King Ella of Northumbria. Ivar and the brothers now recall how their father was tortured. They now had the eagle cut in Ella's back, then all his ribs severed from the backbone with a sword in such a way that his lungs were pulled out there. And there is also a poem. It says, and Ivar, the one who dwelt at York, had Ella's back cut with an eagle. So quite descriptive, you know. Of course, we don't know from the text here. We can't really tell if the victim was alive when they did this, or if it was performed as a kind of a ritual desecration of the body. We don't really know for certain, but if you ask me, in this case, in this legend, in this story where they avenged their father, Ragnar Lothbrok, Ragnar Fluffy Pants, did you know that? That's what it means. They probably wanted to do this while Ella was alive. And before I continue, may I direct your attention to the roof. My Viking cabin has a new roof. It really needed a new roof. So yeah, I built that. So I'm very happy with it, actually. And I must say that it's not for free doing things like this, and I can only do things like this because of the sponsors to these videos. And the sponsor for this video is Surfshark. And I know you're going to tell me now how odd it is to have a Viking telling you about using VPNs. But yeah, the sponsor of this video is Surfshark, which is a very good VPN. I always use a VPN on the internet. When I go back to the modern world and I use the internet, I use a VPN. So you know, especially now when they're rolling out the age verification thing, what that means is that everyone will have to scan their passport, driver's license, maybe do a face scan. I'm not okay with that, because I don't trust these companies gathering that information. And if you are not okay with that either, you should use a VPN. Surfshark is a good one and comes highly recommended. Go to surfshark.com/Bull-Hansen or use code Bull-Hansen at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. And by the way, my name is Bjorn. I'm a historical novelist. I live here in Norway, and I'm very enthusiastic about the Viking Age and history in general. So we also have the case of Turf Einar killing Harold Fairhair's son, Halfdan Longlegs, by doing the blood eagle. And it says here in the Orkneyja saga, it says that there they found Halfdan Hårleg, and Einar had an eagle carved on his back with a sword, and cut all the ribs from the spine and pulled out the lung, and then gave it to Odin for his victory. So we can see that, you know, it's seen as a sacrifice to Odin. The same instance is described in Heimskringla, written by Snorre Sturlason, and there it says, afterwards Earl Einar went up to Halfdan and cut the blood eagle on his back in this fashion that he thrust his sword into his chest by the backbone and severed all the ribs down to the loins, and then pulled out the lungs, and that was Halfdan's death. It's quite a dark topic, isn't it? But you know, humans can do horrible things to each other. And some people will say that, well, they were pagans, they were wild heathens, and then, you know, Christianity saved them and all of that. There is no evidence that Christianity made any difference in that regard. If anything, it made it worse because of all the conflict that brought with it. You know, the introduction of Christianity, conversion by the sword and all of that. But there is another instance here as well. This is from a legend that I have talked about before here on this channel. It's not clear who is the victim. It's either a man called Lyngvi or his brother, and it's also a little bit unclear who actually does it. But my guess it's Regin, the magical swordsmith. Now the bloody eagle with biting sword is carved on the back of Sigmund's killer. Few were more fierce in fight than his son, who reddened the earth and gladdened the ravens. It's you know, it's very poetic, and in a way it's very beautiful, and that, I will say, is something you will find when you read these old legends, very often written in this very a particular poetic form. It's very profound. It's beautiful in a very in a brutal way. Yeah, it's there is nothing else like it, like Old Norse poetry. So those were the three instances of the blood eagle in the written sources that I could find. Now the big question is, did any of this actually happen? Because if we talk about, you know, the legend I just mentioned here, and also even, you know, Ragnar Lodbrok, it's not for certain. We don't really know if he was actually real. You know, so did any of this actually happen? You know, we don't have any archaeological evidence for the blood eagle ever being performed to anyone. And these written sources that we have, they were written down centuries after this supposedly happened. And very often, you know, Christianity, I mean, they were written down by Christian people, or, you know, people who claimed to be Christian at that time. We know that sometimes they are trying to make their pagan ancestors look brutal and almost demonic and all of that. So they might have been tempted to make them look bad. That's at least the argument for coming from people who are saying that this probably never happened, or we don't have any, at least we don't have any evidence that this ever happened. I think, honestly, that it did happen. And the reason I'm saying this is that many other equally brutal things were done during that time. So I would not be surprised if, you know, one day the archaeologists they find the remains of someone who had the ribs cut from the spine and all of that. That's my guess. I think it did happen. But let me know, what do you think? Let us know in the comments. And if you're still watching, thank you. Thank you for staying with me. And I hope you enjoyed seeing the new roof on my cabin. Yeah. I upload videos at least once a week, usually Saturdays, here on this channel. Please subscribe, you know, it's for free. And you can check out one of the other videos that should pop up here on the end screen. Okay, that's all. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.